A little bit about me. At American Airlines, I'm a director in cybersecurity. Well-timed, because when Kelsey this morning, folks caught the keynote, I'm assuming, talking about like pride in your craft, pride in what we're doing. It was about 5 years ago that some colleagues and I, Cargill, started to talk about how we raise our GADI, our Give a Damn Index. And what we found is these Oxford flags that you can get on Amazon. And when we would see somebody that was like, I'm taking the time to fix this now, it's like, way to show your GADI. So for a while there, we had stickers, we had Oxford. This is actually in at my desk at American Airlines, just sitting there. So when people walk up, it's time to give a damn. So I was really thrilled to see and hear Kelsey with that comment. I started in the airlines April 27th of 2020. February 18th, 2020, the U.S. is effectively shut down. My office was like, nobody's coming back in. You have till the 17th to come get your stuff out of your desk. You're not coming back. On the 27th is when I started a new job in an airline that had no revenue for about the first 5 weeks. No revenue for the first 5 weeks I was there. And by the end of 2020, well, at the end of it, we had hit 17 billion, but that was actually after a net loss of about almost $6 billion. So it was a pretty substantial amount of loss of business. And what that is, the ripple effect of that in this last bullet, a monumental burden of crisis, because what we ended up with is people leaving, whether it was we need to let people go or people going, airlines is not the business during the pandemic. All of it, like, totally understood. At the same time, it's like, holy crap, what are we going to do? Rewinding a little bit, for a while I was at Target Corporation in the US, large retailer. There was a thing that we had started there called the Dojo. That was right around 2014. One of the things as part of that transformation there was around setting up cross-functional teams. It's very much what you would hear as far as like establishing a product model. Luckily, we ended up with an interim CIO after this little data breach thing and trying to get into Target Canada, which was just a dumpster fire of an expedition. But getting to a point where we had a new CIO that came in and drew a line in the sand and said, we're going into our product model. Hey, business, if you want to do stuff, you're going to come through and act in a product model as well. And that person having like the EVP title, the executive vice president, a notch up above amongst the peers, just helped in establishing that message. So we were able to really get cross-functional teams. We figured out how to start to move the ship, and this dojo pattern was what we leveraged. The challenge that we had, though, was that all of a sudden, now that we had this big swell, we had a bunch of learning curves. People weren't necessarily focused on the outcomes as much as they were, how do we dig out of our silos? And that was just, at the time, the unintended consequence. There was a lot of duplication. It was, here's 20 teams that have their version of doing Terraform. Well, once you get to a point where you're doing Terraform against AWS or OpenShift or whatever kind of infrastructure you're pointing it at, eventually 80% of it's all the same. Like, your variables might be a little different, but you're still using the same resources, you're using some of the same configuration, et cetera. I then pivoted over to Cargill, and there was in our digital labs area. And that was, for me, the introduction to platform engineering and being able to put into context the idea of how do we put concrete abstractions around, making it easier for the development community to just write code. There we ended up with a cohesive data, API, and cloud strategy. Everything was as code. Again, it was comprehensive. And those three platforms technically worked together so that we had a cloud platform that we could then build a data platform on top of and then be able to extend our APIs and integrations. So everything worked together. It wasn't, I had to go talk to one team to get maybe some compute resources, then go to another team because now I need, a NoSQL instance, and then I need another team to be able to expose it. It was all cohesive. The thing that we ran into there, Cargill in the Midwest Midwest of the United States is typically pretty well known. It's a privately held organization. At any given time, anecdotally, they're managing about 40% of the world's food supply. Whether it's sourcing it, transporting it, getting it to actual companies that are going to do something like make beer with the barley. Like, we just moved this, at that time, I'm saying we like I'm still there. They were responsible for moving that stuff around. So extremely important as far as the ability for their mission, their value, their purpose. What we ran into is that there are technically 5 separate companies that would all arguably be Fortune 100 companies. They were all focused in on their own personas of customer, et cetera. And IT, the information technology and the operational technology, very different sets of concerns. So we're going in talking about cloud. Let's go to AWS. Look how easy it is to provision compute. And we're talking to people that are managing the IT footprint of a lab down in Chile. And they're like, we can't get dial tone sometimes. So like a little bit of a disconnect, right? And also then 77 countries across all the time zones. What it turned into is just not unsurmountable. It's just a matter of the way that we were able to go to the cloud and accelerate things. There were some people that were like, have fun. I get what you're trying to do. Like, please don't come back here and talk to these people about this. Again, we don't have dial tone. So American Airlines, and technically within the Tech Accelerator product group, that was actually within like the delivery transformation org. I should say that was a part of the delivery transformation org. And here is where it really became clear we need to get focused on those outcomes, focus on demos, feedbacks, MVPs, et cetera. Be able to manage those abstractions and get to a point where we can absolutely make it to where it's clear why we're making certain decisions and being opinionated, that we're actually showing and demoing to the development community, to those engineers. Here's how we're reducing the friction and cutting days off of your ability to deploy. And then make sure that we're focused on 3 key areas. 1, make things self-service, make them consistent, and make it to where they're able to be governed in some way. Now, the consistency piece, one thing that I've learned over the course of the couple of decades, if IT outputs can be consistent, it is so much easier for us to manage what the expectations are. What we were running into, and I'm sure others have stories where, depending upon maybe who's building the server, you might end up with a slightly different variation. Or if you ordered a server on Monday and you ordered another one on Tuesday, they're a little bit different. Or they may take different amounts of time. We ended up in times where it would take some days 7 days to get that VM on premise, and then other times where it's 6 months. You're like, how are we supposed to manage any expectations of delivering features with that lack of consistency? So that was a big takeaway, or a big thing that we wanted to instill. All right, so we're at a DevOps conference. Really good DevOps conference. It's it's been great conversations and content. One of the things that DevOps as a movement, a community, however you want to phrase it, somewhat of a lack of definition, like a concrete definition, because like businesses are different, and there's a value proposition that's different, and there's those variables. It's like, hey, there's so much difference that's out there, but what is it really? That I feel like has allowed there to be this little bit of void of let's allow like other things to start to creep in there. As I mentioned, I'm now, since April of this year, director in cybersecurity, and I can tell you when it comes down to things like DevSecOps, I'm a no. I'm out, and I say that not because I don't believe that we need to build secure supply chains, that we don't need to build security into what we're dealing with. What I've seen in the marketplace when it comes down to DevSecOps is that it's this wrapper around DevOps and not something that is just saying, hey, let's fold into the same type of approach to work differently with the same teams and provide the set of products and platforms that other platform engineering teams are doing, but let's do it in a cohesive way. So at American Airlines, we have a framework called the Baker's Dozen. These are 13 objectives that all have some specific details. I won't go into the details of like all of these because I only have 87 more slides to go. No. But with each of these, they have some definition or detail about why it's important, what's a specific set of actions you can do, what are some of the specific things that we just want to make sure that we're protecting assets with. For example, and just to call out maybe a couple, like with API. We have an API gateway, we have an API platform, register your APIs in the catalog, so we know like some amount of ownership, things that you've heard, I'm sure, as far as like being able to identify. I think it was when Simon was talking, it was like the best way to reduce MTTR is to have clear ownership. I think that was like part of one of the slides at some point. Some point today I heard that. It's like, yeah, that ownership and understanding like the metadata about the services become very important. But one thing about this wheel, I do try to use it so I can map back to some things. So if you see it down in the corner, it's a little bit of like, hey, Jason, you didn't talk about the Baker's Dozen aspect here if I miss it. So please, like if I don't catch it, please catch me on it. So defense in depth, this is one of the pieces that we also refer to, because what we want to do is get our engineering community to think about the mindset of not having to do all the baker's dozen items like today, now, this iteration. It is, how do we go about looking at what is the either lowest hanging fruit, easiest thing to adopt, or the most critical vulnerability that's exploitable, and be able to identify something in this next iteration that you can level up on. We like to talk about the defense in depth of these tiers, of these steps, being able to continue we try to gamify it a little bit. And some of this is then that balancing act of coming back to and meeting the developers where they are, the engineers where they are, is we want to make adoption make sense. We really want to address the why. We want to give some details about when we don't do these things, this is the kind of bad stuff that takes place. And then coming back to some of like the self-service, we want to reduce the swirl, we want to reduce the churn, reduce the toil, and make it just easy to onboard to the different things that we've got going on. So a concrete example of this type of setup, we have a framework called our Standard Cloud Configuration Framework. Internally, everyone refers to it as SCCF. It is a way to describe how we go to cloud. Because what we don't want to do is people to go, well, I went to cloud, I'm in Azure. It's like, no. The way that you build your application is how you go to cloud. Because if we put a bunch of APIs on premise and reduce the ability, or reduce the complexity, increase the ability for people to provision on-prem, well, if we just give you an API that's there, what's the difference between that and Azure if you're able to do the same things? Now, we won't ever go to the point of like having the scale of services, but when it comes down to how you're building your application, we want teams to think about it in the context of not where the data center is, but how I've built my app. How do I test it? How do I make sure I know where things are? How do I know that I'm able to deploy it? Very similar to the stuff that Kelsey was talking about. So with this, we combine policy standards, we do it all as code. We make use of architecture decision records to define ADRs, to define what the context and scope is for a particular iteration. We use semantic versioning to actually publish SCCF. And then we make use of different things like Markdown to glue different details together. We make use of, we do quite a bit in Azure. So we have JSON files that manage and we manage in code and have a pipeline that will manage the Azure policies. And then we make use of an inner source Terraform repo where we are able to provide the specific setup from a code level for people to be able to say, oh, if I'm doing something like using Azure storage to do blobs, like S3, but the Azure version, what is the appropriate configuration? And can I just use this code to deploy and create a new thing?
Hi, we are Eficode and we are behind the DEVOPS Conference. DevOps is not a role. It's a way to increase organizations' ability to deliver applications and services faster with better quality. If Agile and DevOps are not yet part of your whole organization, reach out to us and let's discuss how to make them real for you. You can find us at eficode.com. The links are in the description. Have a great time with the DevOps Conference talks.
So, within the cybersecurity space, my main focus right now is application security, AppSec. An approach that we're taking with AppSec is from the crisis of the pandemic, basically retooling and we're reviving our engineering engagement. We lost across the board roughly 30% of folks that were there. So it is very hard now that we are coming out of pandemic. I don't want to say we're out of pandemic. Like I'm not up on the news enough to be that bold. Same time, during this pandemic, we lost 30% of the folks. One of the things that was at that point then was like, keep the lights on, keep things running, keep airplanes going. Hopefully we're delighting passengers. But what we need to do now is as we have revenue, there are people that are flying. It's actually a very busy flight network. We want to simplify things. We want to make sure that the engineers that are out there working on mobile apps, working on the website, working on easier ways to buy a seat, to be able to pick that seat, be able to check in luggage, be able to get upgrades, et cetera, is that we reinvest then internally within cybersecurity in this AppSec space to make more things self-service, make it governed, make it consistent. And so the pinwheel thing, here's just as we go through and we identify some things that we're shooting for to simplify and to ease, hopefully I'll remember to talk about the specifics. All right, so if we're going from project to platforms, one of the things that we're looking to do, and this is, I'm gonna reveal the working title of the platform, and it is Aspire. That is App Security Platform Integrated to Resolve Exploits. It's kind of cheesy, I know, but I mean, I'm sitting there going like, we got to name it. You have to have, like, there just seems like there's times internally you have to have that code name, right? That name for people to kind of glom to, as opposed to it being a tool team. I'm kind of sick of the AppSec team being called like, oh, they're the Coverity team, or our vulnerability management team being the AquaSec team. It's like, no, like, let's talk about the capability, not the tool, because I promise you we'll be changing the tools all the time. Now with that, now that we have a platform, we have this working title, we're going to focus in on re-engaging with the engineering community, figuring out how we have these capabilities, get it self-service governed, get it to where it's consistent. What we want to do is we want to change the approach. Instead of it being like top-down, security said, security said, kind of like, hand on the desk, hey, how about we approach this where we're bringing content to the community. I don't know if folks use Slack. There's a feature in Slack called Clips where you can take little 5-minute videos, and it sets you up with like, here's the desktop and here's you off to the side. And we've started a series called 60 Minutes to Compliance. It's typically a 3 to 4 minute video that shows the engineering community in the next iteration. If you spend 60 minutes doing this one thing that I'm going to demo, you will level up in your compliance. We've got a couple of these videos. It talks about things like human access, privileged access into things like Azure. We have a thing about onboarding to our SAST scanner for static code analysis. And there's just these little videos for people to go, oh, wait, that's all you wanted me to do? Because sometimes they're just like, oh, I can't do another thing. We're like, no. The next iteration, and then the next iteration, like pick another thing. And we try to tie it back to the baker's dozen. We want to make it consumable. We want to put the provisioning and all the steps. We want to get away from the chair swivel of like, you go into your service catalog and you submit a request and then you wait for somebody to eventually like pick it up out of the queue and then they move over to the other console, type it in. No, we want to make it to where it's consumable. It's at the fingertips right then and there, and just figure out whatever the gates are so that we can automate those things because we understand what the problem is. And then we want to collaborate to understand with the engineering community, what's the next thing that we need to focus in on? All of these, then, we map into a set of specific things that are on the calendar. We do office hours weekly. In fact, in some cases, we do them daily, depending upon the type of scope. We do demos. We'll go to other team demos and present, here's what's going on. We bring other teams into our demo time so that our engineers can see how others are using our stuff. That is pretty impactful, I think, when it comes down to, if you want your engineers to go, well, how are people using this? Get a customer to come and spend like 10 minutes going, here's what's great. If you could do this, it would be pretty cool. And if you don't do this, I'm going to stop using it. That will start, like, then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what's the problem you're having? Now the backlog starts to look like these are the problems we need to go after, as opposed to here's a bunch of solutions we got to figure out how to get people to use. We do keep an open backlog. It's just a GitHub repo. Hey, if you've got issues, if you've got problems, flow through. We keep Slack channels in place. We've got app mention groups, so people can just say, I'm having a problem with. We try to show people that we're leveling up on our Gaddy. So 2 big things that have come from that collaboration. I'm not sure. I didn't start my timer. I think I'm back till 12:50? Okay, cool. So show us code. People would say, hey, you're giving us like Word documents. Like we have to interpret and try to interpolate what the hell you're even asking us to do. So there's a couple of things that we do. There's the pinwheel. So we have this thing called Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors. It is a reference app that has, it's got an API, it's an integration with the API gateway. It's essentially just an API. You post to it. It shows you how to set up the login hit up against an API behind the gateway. But it also shows like here are all the different GitHub action workflows like run unit tests. So there's a bunch of unit tests. And then it exposes like here's how you would add, like if you want to go from rock, paper, scissors to on Big Bang Theory, there's rock, paper, scissors, Spock, Lizard. Is that the 5? No. Okay. So like if somebody wanted to expand the game, there would be pull requests. There's both CVE scans And then there's the SAS scan. So we are scanning like the build objects, we're scanning the dependencies, we're scanning just for CWE, like code, like invalid code, OWASP top 10, those types of things. But we have this repo and we have a cron job that's just like always calling, like every 5 minutes. So it's not always, but I mean like every 5 minutes it's making a request. So now we have this like this little canary that people can start to think about like, oh, here's how I can start to monitor it. And we actually have found some infrastructure errors that the infrastructure folks that run the platform around Kubernetes, where we don't like need to know that it's Kubernetes, but all of a sudden when we start getting like 503s or weird like timeouts, our Kubernetes folks are just like, oh crap, like we gotta go fix that. Can we see what these requests are? We're like, yeah, come check it out. But this gives the teams, examples on how to deal with logging, how to deal with telemetry, how to deal with some of the baker's dozen items for them to be able to see and look at it and go, okay, got you. Then we flip that around. We also have this reference code that is called our vulnerability honeypot. This is where we put shitty code. This is where we put the code that we expect the tools to say, I found a password in your source code. You've got log4j. You've got a CWE where you're not doing input validation. You're not doing X, Y, and Z, as well as we've got Dependabot set up within GitHub to constantly be checking for these. But what we do is we don't change it. We just show people, here's what bad code looks like. So we have a code honeypot to show the opposite, like the anti-pattern. When people are like, well, how do I get Dependabot set up? Well, we've got README files and different markdown in here for people to understand, oh, here's how I can set that up. Now, for the most part, we just link out to existing documentation. Like GitHub does a pretty good job with documentation. Other vendors know their product better than we do. But we'll give a little blurb about like why, and then share this out. If we are looking to do something like prototype with a new security tool, like for example, we are kicking the tires with AquaSec's Trivy scanner. We'll introduce it here to be able to show how effective it is in comparison to incumbent tools, or if it's closing a gap, and be able to identify, hey, this is failing right now. It's failing because it found something that the other tool didn't. So that we were able to just bring that evidence back to the other vendor or the other team or whoever may be managing that capability to give them a really good detail. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Hey, there we go. The big R is Runway. Runway is our internal implementation of Backstage. If you look at like the adopters list in Backstage, I think we're somewhere around like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. Started right before I started. One of the things that we've done is, we made some bad choices in our implementation of Backstage. We customized the heck out of it. And we ended up with an upgrade that was 13,000 lines to remove and 27,000 lines to add. That was like a rough couple of days of the review. What we have done is, as a collective, and especially with the developer experience team, is identify, hey, if we're gonna make use of Backstage, can we do it in a way that we're not crushing ourselves every upgrade? The team that was first bringing it in was after a specific objective. And we said, let's continue to build on top of it. But the things that we were building on top of it was kind of a house of cards. So we stepped back. This was like Alpha 4 to Beta 1. So like way back long ago. We've now corrected that. And what we do is about every 6 or 9 months, we say, is Runway still the right thing? Is Backstage still the right thing for Runway? For us to be able to continue the developer experience portal aspect of it. And the team, especially the team that manages it, but then the rest of the community is like, there's nothing better. Like, what we're finding is that there's nothing better that's out there in the open source space. And there's actually still quite a bit of growth in the open source spot for Backstage to continue to bring a lot of really good, valuable capabilities. So that and open source, and I bring this up because in the AppSec world, thing that we're doing is, instead of us trying to either build a separate platform or something that is going to be different from what our development and engineering community is doing today, is that we're integrating into Runway. So by default, when you spin up something like, I need a new API backend, you automatically get all the different components like automated software scanning. This may be a little tough for reading, but when it comes down to the different software templates, we have certain software templates that we consider certified. Those certified software templates have a team behind the scenes that are constantly managing it, maintaining it, and it is something where we say it has all the baker's dozen, or at least these baker's dozen specifically built in. So if you go through to say, I want to deploy a fast API backend, or I'm doing a React or an Angular front end, it's automatically going to do things like be behind our WAF. You get logging and monitoring out of the box. You get integration into our bin repo, like all the different moving parts, CI/CD setup, all the different things that you would get from something like this. What we've done is we've incorporated things like our SaaS scanner to where even if you created an application outside of Runway, you're able to, in one of our videos, our 60 minutes to compliance, is in about 3 minutes be able to use a Runway template to submit a pull request to your repo that sets up that SaaS scan. We use Coverity. It keeps trying to not say the tool, but I'm just going to jump to it. We use Coverity because it says it right there at the bottom. Well, it was about 8 months ago, and since then, some of the results that we've gotten from this Coverity pull request software template is 3 times the amount of SaaS scanning. So we've tripled the number of repos that are getting scanned. That's resulted in right around 700 in the last 8 months, where people are just going, oh, this is all I need to do. Let me go click through this. And DCT, delivery cycle time, we're contributing. Our response in doing this is providing an 84% improvement to delivery cycle time. We're getting the heck out of the way. The software template onboards the person and their team to the back-end scanner, right, Coverity itself. It sets up the repository. They can select up to, I think it's like 3 different languages, depending upon their repo. Some repos have a couple of different languages in them. But be able to onboard that in just a few seconds to where we're no longer a ticket into the service catalog, wait for somebody to respond. No, really, your call is important. Please hold. It is self-service, it's governed, and because we make use of GitHub Actions and version it, they're able to confidently go in with a version commit level at a commit tag. They're able to go in at a version level, or just say, you know what, I'm going to YOLO this, just give me whatever's on main. So this is pretty much coming to the end of my talk around why I don't think we need anything extra in there. I think there are ways that in the security space, we're able to meet people where they're at, integrate with these platforms. There's going to be some new paths that are driven through. There's going to be people like, no, don't do this, but it's got you like. I'm reaching out to the cybersecurity enthusiast and my colleagues. They're like waves on the sand of a beach. We got to be consistent in the way that we're approaching this and make sure that it is just really given a good experience. And we've got to be the ones to help balance things like risk, understanding the risk, and understanding the value of deploying features and be able to combine those. And my second to last thing. I said before, we don't have a definition for DevOps. In talking with some folks, we had a Scrum Master, a program manager. Her name's Sarah, and her quote is, DevOps, it's the union of people, process, and technology to provide value to customers, an infinity loop of bringing people together for the sole purpose of making other people happy. And I was like, okay, I'm done. That's great. I'll just go with that. Like, there's no tools. I mean, there's stuff about the process and the technology, but it isn't like, yo, I've got Jenkins. And here's my last. At the end of it, like, let's wake up, let's kick ass, let's be kind to each other, and let's just do it all over again.